This is episode 15 of Inside the Game on One Soccer and the One Soccer digital platforms. 15. That's like three high fives. Gareth Wheeler with you, wrapping up another week, I should say. The sun is finally out here where I am in this country. Here in Toronto, spring has finally sprung. It's glorious outside, making a difficult situation just that much more, a little bit bright right now. Tonight, or should I say today, a rare previously recorded version of the show from where I sit right now in Toronto to our guest tonight. It is literally halfway around the world. But it's great he could make some time in what should be a really good ep of the show today. And today's guest, he has a story to tell. His career has been one of adventure, starting in his hometown as the first ever player to sign into the Toronto FC Academy into the first team. His travels have taken him to Cyprus, kind of, for a little bit, then to West Ham, Blackburn, Denmark, Vancouver, and now where he is today in South Korea. Over his almost a decade being a professional player, which is saying something because he's only 27, he's established himself as a top domestic center back, a physical, dominant presence in the air, a player with all the tools and gifts to play at the highest level. He's one of the poster boys right now of Canadian soccer as well. His hard work has paid off as he's now a first choice center back with the Canadian men's national team. His run with Canada last fall gave him his first goal for country, and he just sensed it was coming against Cuba. He wanted it, and it inevitably came. He has all kinds of promise with him and his team moving forward as well. So future success with the national team in that perspective is surely on the horizon. From the football factory of Brampton, Ontario, the world continues to be at his feet. His story, a lesson for other young players of not just taking the easy route, but carving your own path towards success. And now he's reaping the benefits. He took center stage earlier this month in the first really notable game back as the soccer world reconnects amidst the threat of the global pandemic. So we're ecstatic that he's joining us. He's healthy and he's doing well. We're super pumped to have him. From South Korea, it's Doneil Henry joining us right here on Inside the Game. Annyeong, and Doneil, did I say it correctly?
I say it as good as you can, man. So congratulations. You're halfway to being a Korean.
How's the language barrier going? Are you learning much, taking some time?
To be fair, I know a little bit, but I would never say I can speak it or communicate well enough. But I have good vibes and positive energy. The boys laugh. We all make jokes and kind of just fool around all the time. So they understand. I understand a little bit, but definitely wouldn't say I'm fluent in Korean yet.
I'm guessing like English is kind of the universal language. I'm guessing more people can kind of speak bits and pieces to you.
Yeah, I was actually surprised with how many guys could say a little bit. Like you said, I've never had to be a foreigner in a country. Everybody usually can speak English, so I always felt right in there. But now I understand, especially like I've been very fortunate to play in a few countries where I can speak English. But now I understand, especially the MLS boys, the foreign players who come to the MLS and don't speak English. I really understand exactly what they are going through or what they really needed. So hats off to them. It's not easy.
Instead of you putting your arm around them, they're putting their arm around you. What goes around comes around, right?
That's absolutely that's true.
You have a crazy story. I mean, what a time to make a big move to play in Asia. How are you dealing with this really unprecedented time right now? Are you doing okay?
Yeah. If you would have asked me this 6 years ago, maybe, I think that's when I moved to England, and the first time I left Brampton, my parents' house, where I thought I was a man already. Some humbling. I don't get homesick anymore or any of that stuff, but no, I'm on the time zone and fully committed to my football in Korea. So my lifestyle is basically Korean. So no, it's been kind of easy adjusting. I can say the only problem that I had is when the pandemic started and not knowing what's going on, how serious it was. Nobody really knew what COVID-19 was and how dangerous it was. And that's when I really wanted to go home. But went home and it was there, and came back here, and with the protocols and everything and how aggressive they tackled it, I can say the South Koreans have done a really good job in making sure that players are safe. And not only the players, but everybody in the world is really taking it serious, especially in Korea.
You guys are obviously, by virtue of where you are, a little bit ahead of us, not only today, but in terms of where the game is, where I guess these different phases of real life or quote unquote normal life returning. How have things played out eventually? Like, just not even in terms of like football and training, but just in terms of society right now. Where are you guys at?
Yeah, so at the beginning, my biggest problem was food and what I wanted to eat.
Yeah.
I was not really into like going out to grocery stores and stuff because I did not know how serious it was. So the few times I went, I just stocked up on basically what we know as Mr. Noodles
Yeah.
and just had a massive supply. Probably still have a lot left in the cupboard, but I was keeping it really simple with what I ate, or I just ate at the clubhouse because the clubhouse allows us to eat two or three meals a day, where they provide that. So it was the transition. Obviously, was really uncertain at the time, but like I said, they attacked it aggressively. Everybody had to get checks or stay inside, and we had specific instructions. You go to training and you go back home. You don't go around for like idle time and doing things just until we figure out what's best. Those are the two places you should be going.
I'm guessing your family and friends were concerned as well. How did they react to you being so far away?
I think that kind of played a bit on my anxiety is the amount of messages that I received being so close
Right.
to where it supposedly started. That what's going on? Are you coming back home? And how little I knew and how little they knew at the time. I was really concerned about um, what I should do, especially after they postponed the season. But I just kind of stuck it out and kind of just waited until we got a little bit more clarity. And obviously, after knowing that the virus was kind of maintained, it's just the only thing in my mind is I'm not playing football. I'm here to play football,
Yeah.
and I don't know. I didn't know how to keep myself going or keep myself busy and doing the right thing. So I've tried many things while on quarantine, and nothing really done it. But you know what? I had um, some really good conversations with coaches, or just kind of keeping myself sharp and mentally into the game, and besides the fitness standpoint.
Well, it was kind of cool from our perspective because people over here be just being jonesing for sports, jonesing for competitive football. And we got to see you, a fellow Canadian, play in really the first game of any notoriety coming back from the pandemic. It was kind of weird. No one in the crowd. But how we're going to go through your journey and how you got to this point, but what was that experience like for you? Were you aware that the world was watching at that time and that the game that you were playing in kind of represented kind of the return of football?
Yeah, so they made it a big deal, and when you talk about nervousness and all that stuff, I don't really get that anymore. So when they say I knew it was an empty stadium, so the pressure is not there. But they just kept talking about it's gonna be the first game broadcasted worldwide, so everybody would be watching. And I'm thinking, you can tell that to certain players, and it's okay, but then certain players they just feel the pressure to perform and all of that stuff. And it was weird. It was no one in the stands, but supposedly everybody's watching it. So to me, it's like whatever. It's like social media nowadays. Everybody sees it. So I wasn't really too bothered by it.
The weirdest thing might be communication. Like you can hear what every coach or other player is saying. I know there might be a language barrier to a certain degree, but with so much ready communication, I mean, was that kind of the most odd thing to you? Was it the sight lines? What was it?
I don't know. I could definitely hear everything my coach was saying for probably the first time in my life, where he can
Since you were
communicate
a
even
kid,
with
right?
no.
Since you were a kid.
Yeah, but it's funny. They actually tried to implement like game sounds like through the speaker or whatever, so you will hear chanting and stuff to try and make it kind of realistic, which I even thought was a bit weird. It's like a closed door scrimmage. That's what I took it as, but it was way more competitive if you get what I mean.
Yeah. In terms, I'm sure they took all the proper safety protocols, but was there any reluctance of any players to go into a challenge to make that physical contact?
No, everybody was like, sometimes we even forget, like, we shouldn't be touching. Like, when I say touch each other, like, you see your teammate do something
Sure.
well, you give him a high five or whatever. But nah, I think everybody understood what was on the line. It's not like we haven't been training, and we trained really hard. So, going into the game, we didn't really have any of those kind of problems. I guess after the game, or whatever. But I can definitely say the restriction and how serious the protocol was for the game is it was definitely intense. The night before we get checks all the time, fever checks and all that all the time. But everybody in the league had to do the corona test, where they do the swabbing,
Yeah.
nostrils, throat. So I did the chest exam too. The first time I did it, all of that stuff we all had to do before we could play a week before or a couple days before, and then going the night before the game in the hotels, the day of the game in the hotel, and then we all got checked before we can even enter the stadium. So that was kind of something to where everybody had to line up, and if you were, it was hot. I remember the day we were in Jumbo to play our first game. It was hot on the bus. It was hot, and I had my hat on, and then as I took my hat off, and he did the test, and I was over or something. So I had to like wait a bit with a couple, like 3 or 4 players had to wait a bit, and then they let us in after our temperature went down.
There are some players right now in England, especially as the Premier League's kind of moving back to a return, that are reluctant to get on the field. Can you understand where they're coming from? I mean, you've been there, done that.
Yeah, it's you have to understand. Like I cannot even. I was reading something on Troy Deeney today. I can't fault him for where his mind is at. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. I said, why are we training and we still don't know what's going on? You know what I mean? I said we're going into a clubhouse where everybody has their regular lives, and then they come back here. I said it just takes one person, and then we're all getting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But to be fair, like you have a young child, a newborn. I have nothing to say. You know,
Mhm.
safety and priorities has to be at home. So I don't know. When's the right time to return? I guess that's on I guess the team and making the right protocols and decision. But I feel for where I am right now with my team, I think we're doing all the right things.
Well, it was very cool seeing that on May 8th. You now played a couple games. Have things become a little bit more normal for you playing that way?
Yeah, now I feel fulfilled. I'm not just training and training. I'm
Yeah.
playing games. I'm understanding the league more. Understanding we have more team chemistry and understanding how we want to play and things. So I feel like I'm back in a proper football environment. Besides doing all the checks and stuff for health concerns and reasons, I'm not. It's no problem. You know, it's for our guaranteed safety. And I'm sure as soon as we tackle it and we figure it out, we can get the fans back in the stadium as soon as possible. So I'm looking forward to even that.
Right on. So you could provide inspiration to your fellow Canadians that there's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel here, that just the proper steps need to be taken. And where you are today is probably where we're going to be heading in the not so distant future.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I think our season got postponed maybe a month before the MLS season, and obviously it's a league that I watch heavily because I have a lot of friends. I played in it. I understand it, so it's a really attractive league to me, you know. And even a couple of my teammates, they always ask me what it's like and what's it like to live in America, you know what I mean, and Canada. So it's kind of nice. I always tell them I'm like, there's a lot of similarities between the two leagues. Obviously, we in MLS you have 3 deep designated players who are like high marquee players who everybody's either seen play on the world stage, done well, or whatever. But I said there's some very young, talented players you wouldn't know about or hear about, and then you see them pop up and they're performing on a big stage, you know.
Right
So
on. Uh,
good.
can you compare the levels? Because a lot of players like yourself have moved over, had very successful careers in Asia, and by all regards, I mean at the top level, the leagues are very good.
Yeah. So I think the MLS is still very unorthodox. As in you have a lot of raw players who I think some of the best defenders come from the MLS and they just need fine tuning.
Right.
Whereas the mental side of the game, positioning side of the game is not there, but they have 100% better defending qualities or raw attributes that you cannot teach than I've seen players who played in Europe. The difference is time and experience, of course, and the technical side of it. Maybe sometimes lacks, where I say is unorthodox, but the Korean league is very, very technical and very, very fast. They like to play the game really fast and really direct. So, it is physical. That is one thing. I'm always used to a gradual build up preseason, where you go in at some base fitness, but not at your highest measures, and you gradually just work your way up. And I made a comment, like a joke. He's like, "How are you feeling?" He's like, "What do you think the difference is between Korean and MLS?" I said, when I came in, I was unfit, and I thought we are gonna go like this, and all the players are already up here. They're like, "Let me just kept," and he just started laughing. I said, "Jesus!" I'm like, "You guys don't have no chill, like, you know what I mean?" I'm like, gradual, but nah, they do everything fully, full-hearted, fully committed, and at 100% of their capability. So
Dude,
that's one thing
it's
that I think is.
it's funny when you say that, because when you think about Asian nations competing on the world stage, they're always among the most fit. Like
Yeah,
whether it be South Korea, Japan, go down the list. I mean, it's part of their game, part of their culture as well. I mean, I know that you're there, you're not playing in front of full
I know.
stadiums right now, but like the footballing culture over there, they love the game, and that's probably something that's a little bit different from some of the markets here in North America.
Yeah, and I also think I'm just learning a little bit about their culture, and why I respect the Koreans is that they come from a culture where like every man has to go to the army and serve for like a year and a half. And some of them told me like what it's like the first 6 weeks, like no phones, no chocolate, no, like completely. I'm like, what? Like, I'm blessed. I never had to go to the army as a man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they have to go to the army. I have teammates. I think one of the young boys, actually, he's joining the army in the next week. I'm talking about an 18-year-old who has to go and serve his country for a week. This is a footballer, leaves football to go play, and I respect that, and I understand where their commitment and their hunger and their mentality comes from, because they come from a country where, like, yeah, is driven to for success. You know what I mean? So
Son came back from Spurs during the coronavirus, during the pandemic. I think he just is finishing up his military service. I mean, that must have been a big story in the country as well.
can you imagine? And this is a guy who's done it all.
Yeah,
A player who's really, really done well on the world stage for his country, and he understands that there's no shortcuts. Everybody has to do it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's a guy you just respect. I respect that.
I want to get more into your move to Korea a little bit later on, but I kind of want to start from the beginning and kind of walk our viewer through. If they don't know the Doneil Henry story, give them a little bit of a taste about how you ended up in South Korea today. Your parents moved to Canada. They're originally from Jamaica before you were born.
Yeah,
Was it their influence that drew you to the game of soccer? Because you're a big, strong, athletic guy. It wasn't them at all.
my parents are not. Well, I wouldn't say they're not athletic. They're not athletic. My parents are hard workers. You know what I mean? My parents didn't tell me, "Hey, you're gonna play soccer." My parents didn't tell me anything, or when it comes to like sports, they just wanted me out of the house and stop causing havoc and breaking shit, and just basically just being like a menace in the house. I just had a lot of energy, and at the time, probably I would say soccer is definitely the cheapest sport um for like organized sport back in the day. You know what I mean? I wasn't gonna play hockey. Um, it's too expensive. You know what I mean? I always just loved soccer, but I played everything until about grade 9, where TFC's like, yeah, like there's no more outside sports. You can only play soccer for the academy, and that's where going into high school, I knew that I wasn't gonna play volleyball and basketball, which I love the two sports dearly. But yeah, going forward, I just always just focused on soccer.
So I'm a little bit older than you. I'm probably about 12 years older than you. I grew up playing in Mississauga, and which was always a very good footballing club at that time. And Brampton was one of our rivals. And now Brampton's emerged as this absolute soccer factory in this country. What's in the water? What's going on in Brampton? And how are they able to produce so many players like yourself? And when you were a part of it, Doneil, did you see it coming?
Yeah, because we just knew about the Jason Benz, the Tebow Hutchinsons. I can just tell you about all like the Brampton guys. When we think about it now, Ian Hume, Paul Saltieri, these are guys that I didn't even know growing up. I just knew like Osos. I've been known also for a long time just because he played on the Brampton Blast. The Brampton Blast was like the best team. The 1992 boys was like the best team, and it's like we used to get called up. Like a couple of us, but I used to always get called up once in a while to play a tournament or something. I think the coach's name was Gene De Silva, if I can remember. But that group of players probably had the most talent for their age group. So I played for the Brampton Bullets, and I just knew that a lot of those guys were going to get an opportunity to go somewhere. But at the time, it was just a dream because I don't think TFC even started yet. Yeah, it was like the avenue of professional football in Canada still wasn't there yet. But all the guys who had made it in the previous years left pretty early and started in maybe Scandinavia or lower leagues in Europe and then made a name for themselves. So they definitely deserve the respect because the way they had to make it was way different than all the opportunities and avenues that now players can make it. You know what I mean?
Right. And you were kind of one of the first players that were able to benefit from the fact that Toronto FC was established in your own backyard. 2007, it came around. I mean, it probably would have been a little bit easier for you and the group that you were coming through if the academy was a little bit more established. But when it was it a no-brainer to become part of that club, or did you have other options at that time?
There was no options. It was more like I didn't make the provincial team, and Stuart Neely probably, yeah, definitely the coach that gave me like the hunger and desire to know that I can play professional football. Talked to me after I got cut from the provincial team, and I was thinking, at the age of 16, if you're not on the provincial team or whatever, you're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's nothing really you can do. Yeah, you can go to school, but I wasn't. I always told my mom, like, the university offers are starting to come in. I was playing for North Miss at the time, and we did a lot of tournaments and traveling to the States. So I had like D1 good offers, Ivy League schools. This made my mom happy and giddy, and like my son's going to one of these Ivy League schools. I told her, I said, Mom, listen, this is not for me, or not even it's not for me, but I have no like ambition to go to school in the States. You know what I mean? It just, I knew it was going to be an option if I didn't go professionally, but at the time I got cut from the provincial team, playing with North Miss, but training with the TFC Academy. So I start brushing shoulders with these professional players, and you see them, you see D-Ro, you see Julian, you see Dicchio, and you're just looking at them like, these guys are just like me. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are, I get it, they're professionals, but the minute I found out these guys are human, blood, sweat, tears, just like me, and I think this is one of the training sessions that they put me in, and I had to mark Dick, and I just thought he was gonna post me up, and I just ran right past him and took the ball. It's just like one of those type of things. I'm like, yeah, I can play. I can definitely play with these guys.
Amazing.
And that's what kind of gave me the confidence to keep going.
It sticks with me that you said that you were cut from the provincial team. You're not the only one that has turned out to be a professional footballer that's either being cut from a provincial team, a national team at the youth level in this country. What do you make of that? That your story kind of has replicated itself so many times. Was it the politics behind it? Were you not good enough at the time? What do you make of how this keeps on happening?
I definitely was good enough. There's always gonna be politics in the sports, but it's just, it comes down, it's a game based on opinions, and you know what I mean? Sometimes one coach will like you or not. I don't think that's the case in like my situation. Maybe he thought I wasn't 100% committed to the team, but when it comes to performance and stuff, or grit or what it was, like, I knew I had everything that those boys had. So who knows? It's maybe just a decision.
Well, things worked out a-okay for you, Doneil, in the end. It must be a badge of honor. January 9th, 2014, you become the first Toronto FC Academy player to sign that first team contract. Do you still look back on that fondly? Is that an honor for you?
I'm pretty sure I signed my first contract in August.
Oh,
Almost.
sorry,
August.
August.
I just know that I was talking to my mom
2014, you
after.
left to 2010, I should say. Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
because I know my decade in professional football is coming up in August, so I'm just
Yes.
already thinking about that, and I'm thinking about, I'm gonna have a nice bottle of wine, a nice expensive bottle of wine, and just look back at my 10-year career and say it's been a blessing. I can take so many lessons out of it, but I'm still chasing my dreams. You know what I mean? Getting to that age of experience, and in my prime, I'm I don't know. I'm just so thankful for still being in the game. I met some amazing people, mentors, coaches, and all that has definitely made me at least the man that I'm shaping to be.
Apologies about getting that date wrong. I wrote down the wrong
No,
date there. I knew it was 2010. I was covering the team at the time, and you could see you come into this group. You're an emerging talent. You're a local talent, which has always been looked upon fondly by the club and its supporters. But you kind of entered the first team during a little bit of a turbulent era. So many
yeah,
players came in and out. The
yeah.
coaching changes from Preki to Dasso to Winter, Mariner, Nelson. As a young player, just how difficult was that for you to find your bearings and really gain some consistency?
Yeah, it was tough, but honestly, I can say me and Ashton, we did that thing side by side. That was
Mhm.
when you talk about like your best mate. Um, Still, when it comes to football, Ashton is definitely one of the only guys who was around our era who I can confide in. Like literally, we used to be in the change room, out of the change room, put into the second team change room. We just did everything together. So me and Ashton, we have memories when we talk about TFC. And it was hard. It was hard because we were losing like crazy. Coach changes, and it's like I thought after my first year I was done. I was just thinking, I guess I'm
Really?
just ride out. I thought I was gonna ride out this. I played 1 minute or 2 minutes of stoppage time in the last game against DC United. That was my first professional MLS game, and it's like, oh, I'm not playing. I went from being the best or in the academy, 16, 17-year-old playing with the senior team, playing my professional game for the club as an international friendly against Bolton at the time. Like these are the things I remember. So Canada Cup, being a part of that, winning three. And you go to playing professional football and you think, you're still gonna play and you get humbled. It's not easy. You gotta bring it every day. You see good players, you see bad players, you see egos, you see everything, and you gotta you gotta figure out you gotta find yourself within that change room because the timid guys get pushed aside. The guys who don't stand up for themselves I always tell people it's more than just football. Like you gotta still go into that change room, understand you're in a change room with 30 guys who want to be a part of that 11, and somehow the coach has to make a decision. So yeah, it's tough.
A lot of young Canadian players have now come through that TFC Academy. Uh, and it's a difficult team to get into. I mean, Ashton ended up staying with Toronto FC just until this most recent offseason, and he had to
Yeah.
bide his time, even though that he showed his qualities as well. Do you as young Canadian players kind of band together, have each other's back, and kind of feel like, you know what, maybe we're not getting the opportunity that we should get at times?
Yeah, it's tough because this young generation of players, especially I don't know them that well, but from the ones that I know or I see them around the national team or whatever it is, I give them love
Mm,
because they're going to be the ones that bring us through to the next round, represent our country, represent our club, they're the next generation. They're the youthful present, and they all have talent. I've seen a lot of them play, and I still do follow up to see what they're doing. So when we talk about that stuff, especially the TFC Academy, that's my home. Like no one can ever take that from me. I enjoyed my time there, but I enjoyed watching them win MLS Cups. I still, when I go back and I still remember people who are there now, like it's nothing but love. Um, to Vanny and his entire staff all the way down. No, I watched this, especially that team, the young players there. They have some good young talented players that I'm really excited to see break into the team. And if they're not breaking into the team, looking about going on loan. A lot of players like to just be
yeah.
attached to a club and stay there and write out their contract. And I'm thinking that doesn't give you value. Go out there, go on loan. Don't worry about status. Go out there and go play. Go play 30 games in a league lower or whatever, and show your quality. You know what I mean? Go show the coach why he needs to bring you back or keep you, or go find out what's gonna happen next. And a lot of players,
It's a great point. Like oftentimes coaches, and this is kind of the road that you took, they want to see players get out of their comfort zone. And
yeah,
sometimes if you're in a place where you grew up, things are comfortable, your family, your friends are there.
yeah,
So that's what
nothing
you
grows there.
advocate. Get away,
Nothing
get
grows.
out, have that
Yeah,
experience.
yeah, because like I don't know. I always wanted to play. Um, I didn't care where I was. Like um, every club I've been to, if I didn't start off playing or whatever, and that was just my kind of mentality and attitude. If I wasn't playing, I'm a handful to deal with. I'm not the greatest person to be around because I want to play. I want to make sure I can show what I can because I know it's all about being relevant. So if it's not here, where? You know what I mean? So no, sometimes you got to be patient. Sometimes they're just building you up, bringing you through. But I think certain young players, just for their professional experience, and they need to go play games at that level because they're comfortable playing with the academy team. Playing with kids is only going to take you so far. You got to play with the men.
You and your Whitecaps team a season ago were unfortunately on a losing end in the semifinal of the Canadian Championship to
Yeah.
Cavalry, obviously the new Canadian Premier League. I wonder what your thoughts are about that league are and the quality that you faced and what that could mean, providing more opportunity to young Canadian players, whether it be on full contract or on loan.
Yeah, it's a professional league. We lost to Calgary. I can tell you about like 4 or 5 players who can look good for Malik Hamilton. I think his name is Waterman, center back. I think
Yeah, he
you
went to
are Montreal.
Montreal. Yeah, he went
He
to
went to
Montreal.
Montreal now. Amir, very good, solid player. I've seen him with the national team. Zator, right back. I'm talking about guys who have an opportunity. You know what I mean? The professional league. I'm so happy we finally have a professional league in Canada. It took too long. You know, you're giving players now the opportunity to play professionally in their country, and that's only going to help them on their professional development. The bigger teams like TFC and Montreal, they can loan them out, get them games, go play 20, 30 games. You know what I mean? Go get your professional experience. You're not ready for the first team here yet, but academy football or whatever is not good enough. You need to go play that, get those professional experience, and I think that's really important.
And you think there's enough good young players that can play at that level?
Oh, absolutely. I think every single player that has a professional contract between now 16 and the 16 to 18 or 20, whatever it is, they need to go play. They need to go. I guess and a coach knows if he wants a player who he thinks is and keep him around because he's not ready to go out there yet because some are not. You know, everybody grows at different levels, but eventually you gotta get out your comfort zone and go.
So you were finally kind of breaking in, really scoring some big goals for Toronto FC in 2014. I remember one against Columbus. You scored against all of TFC's rivals, by the way, Montreal,
Yeah.
Vancouver. That's a good way to warm yourself up to the Toronto FC supporters. Where did the motivation to move over to Europe come from? Was this something that you just always wanted to do? Were you considering staying with Toronto FC? Take us back to 2014.
Remember Ryan Nelson asked me a question, and probably Ryan Nelson and my relationship was really good. Just because he played center back, but
Yeah.
not that he play, and yeah, he was tough, but Ryan was a thinker. You know what I mean? Probably you could say like Ryan probably protected me over himself as a manager by playing me and giving me that experience that I needed. Because I made a lot of mistakes while being a TFC player. That all definitely helped me develop at this level. But he was probably the one coach that I knew that was always picking at my brain, and he asked me, he's like, "What do you want from football?" I said, I didn't think it was ever going to be here. I wanted to play in England. I said, I would love to know what it's like to at least play, or what is it like to be a Premier League player. And he left. He's like, what's your ambitions? Like, what do you want to do with football? And I said, yeah, I want to see what it's like, because I already knew the MLS level, and it was good, but it didn't. He's like, you get bored, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can tell you know you can get away with it because you're physical, or you know you can come back. And I said, I would just love to know what it's like. And that was the off season that I got to train with West Ham. And he said to me, he's like, it doesn't matter how you do, it's just a training stint. He just put it in my head, it's just a training stint, just go have fun. He's like, it doesn't matter if you go there and you're shit for a week. Just sorry for swearing, but he's like, it doesn't matter if you go there and you're and it goes poorly for a week or whatever, just go there and take it for what it is and come back. And I just took it for that and went there and I smashed it. I knew, and I always say it, it's like, you go into one of those change rooms and they just look at you and they're like, where are you from? I said, Canada. So you already look like, you just look like a player that's Canada. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not Spanish, you're not Brazilian, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Canada, like, you guys play football in Canada. That's like, that's how they talk to you, you know? So you know, I'm doing the warm up. I'm staying quiet. I'm staying to myself. And it's the day before a game. And I'm obviously just playing with like the second team, and we're doing like 11v11, doing set pieces. And cross goes in. The first team is defending it. It comes out, and I didn't even go for a corner kick. I was just staying back, and it comes out to me, and I hit like a 40-yard diag, like on a rope. I don't think I ever hit a ball so sweet in my life. And after that, you just hear one of the players say, "Wow, son, good ball," like, you know. And after that, that gave me the confidence. I'm like, yeah, I got this, because I knew I could defend. It was to me. I think even my transition in playing there, it was so much easier because I didn't play. I didn't play a lot, and I had a lot of injuries. But I just watched the center backs there. Their job was easier because there's always 3 passes. And that's what I always tell people. I said, as a center back, my job was easy. I just had to stay focused into the game and defend well. I always had 3 passes. And I knew my midfielders can handle anything I give them because they're magic. I think the Premier League or especially like higher league football, the better leagues, they do the perfect things simple. They do the simple things perfect, sorry. So me as a center back, 2 touches. My first touch is set up my pass, and the second touch is the pass. And I always had 3 options. I can play to my midfield, I can play to my fullback, and if I was feeling cheeky, I'd hit it, whatever. And if I didn't know it, I'm putting it in the channel. It's simple, very, very simple. Like, you didn't have to try and be the playmaker. Where before I was always trying to be the player. How can I catch the fans' eyes? How can I, you know what I mean? And then that's what always put me in trouble. I always figured out. I knew later on, if you do something and they don't talk about you all game, you had a good game.
Yes.
That means you didn't make a mistake. That means you didn't try something that was risky, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I learned that in my position, I got to keep clean sheets and I have to organize. I don't need to be the person who causes any attention or whatever. That's what the players up front are for. Let them do all the glorious, magical stuff. You know what I mean? So I tell young players all the time, just play your role. Everybody has a position to play. Play your position to the best of your ability.
Your time with West Ham, I mean, we'll get into the injuries and kind of the ramifications of that, but your move was a little bit unorthodox. And I remember at the time people were reporting Doneil Henry's going to Cyprus. Is he going to West Ham? From your side of the story, like, how did this all play out for you? Because that was your gateway to playing in Europe, wasn't it?
Yeah. Honestly, only God knows, because I got after my trial stint there, I went into I even stayed longer than I was supposed to stay. It was supposed to be a week of this training, but they loved having me around. I did really well. So I ended up staying like a month or whatever it was. And they said, I had a meeting and they said, like, we'll see you back in the new year. So I was happy, I was excited. I knew that there's a possibility that I would be going there. And in my head, I wasn't going back to TFC. And then there's the work permit thing, and that's when I was crushed. You know what I mean? Like, I just like, oh, the work permit. It's always something in the way. So I got denied, and then basically my last year back at TFC, the following season, I was on loan the entire year. But I didn't tell anybody. It was just one of those things where we just played it. I didn't want to cause any attention to myself and have the media, because the media back then was really negative. You know what I mean? They were just, Daniel's not a TFC player, and that's when they came out at the ending of the season, and like a few games left, like, Daniel's not even a TFC player. He's on loan, and I didn't want to cause that attention within the change room or the team, and I just wanted to focus on my football and keep playing. And yeah, that's when finally went through appeal process, and yeah, I was able to go to and play in England. But
did you even go to Cyprus at all?
I even know where Cyprus is now.
No idea where it is. It's just one of those things, the business of the game, right? So you needed to go through these channels to get there. But Big Sam liked you at the time, right? And it seemed like you were his type of player as well.
Yeah, Big Sam is nails. He brought me in, right? So it's funny. Big Sam brought me in, and within like half the season, half a year, he was out of there. So it was like a new coach come in, and he brings in his philosophy and his players, and yeah, it was always tough after that, especially with. The thing is, like, no one could ever fault me and say I was poor. I did poorly. I was always injured. You know what I mean? I couldn't get fit. I went to Blackburn on loan, did really well, then got injured. Like, you know what I mean? It wasn't like oh, Doneil played bad or he can't handle this level. It wasn't a level thing or whatever. It was, if anybody can watch those games that I played when I was in the championship, they would say they couldn't talk poorly of me.
You made your debut in the Europa League. You're right. Injuries really for the first time in your career crept in. Gary Boyer, your manager at Blackburn, said that your debut was magnificent, but injuries came about 3-4 games after for you. Was it just a fluke, Doneil? Like, what do you make of what you went through during that time?
Uh, I don't even know because I've never had an injury before I left Canada. It was maybe a thing where I didn't play for 6 months, and then the games picked up rapidly. So maybe it was a thing where I'm the type of player, if I have to play, I have to play every week, or I don't play for 6 months, and then after my body just adjusting, I have big muscles. The way my
Sure.
body is prone to happen if I'm not like game fit per se. So you can say fluke or whatever, but I think everything happens for a reason.
Did you get any?
Mentally,
I mean, you're playing with and around established professionals, some incredible players at that time. Did anyone give you any good advice that you kind of took with you? Was there kind of that special moment you're like, well, thanks, man, I'm going to keep that with me over the course of my career?
the players that I stuck to mostly while I was out there, definitely my brother, Junior Hoilett. I didn't even like everybody knows Junior Hoilett. He's a Brampton legend. He's, you know what I mean? He's the only player at the time who left Brampton and went to go play in the Premier League. You know what I mean? I just know of him, but I didn't know him. So I don't know how, but we got in contact and he pulled up on me and he like was like my big brother because he knew I was out here by myself.
Awesome.
And yeah, since that day, me and Junior are like this. And when I was going through all of my injuries, the advice, I didn't want advice. I was in a very, very dark place. I didn't want to like talk to anybody. And then when I lost my visa, it was even worse because I hadn't played any games. I know this is the visa deadline date. So maybe my contract is a little bit longer, but I can't be in the country. So Julian de Guzman definitely came to London and was my confidant, was like that person that told me, we made a plan together and we talked about it and went to dinner. And I can say, yeah, Julian de Guzman is definitely one of the only, I can say probably one of the best for the young players. Like, I don't know why he stuck with me, or since I met him at TFC, he kind of put his arm around me and did everything with me, or because Julian was already established, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he didn't have to do half the things. And it's not like I was gonna ask him. I was more intimidated by like, wow, why is this guy like, what does he want? You know,
I think
Julian
I
is
think
definitely that figure.
I think these are the things that Canadians soccer fans might not know about, the fact that you Canadian players really have each other's backs, right? Like
Absolutely.
through and through. And maybe it's a story that's not told quite enough, Doneil.
Yeah, I think, well, listen, like supporters see it one way, the players see it one way. Guys, like we're human too. We have a bad game, we know we have a bad game. And like social media, social media can be brutal. I got rid of social media for a while just because of that. But then, at the end of the day, we're all humans. I felt like it wasn't fair, but I also know this is life. And I couldn't just feel sorry for myself. I would never be one of those people who feel sorry for myself. So like I said, Julian sat down with me. We made a plan and we said, we're going to get fit. What's the best move? Stay in Europe. But at the time, it's like, if I stay in Europe, I know I'm not fit. I'm coming back from a year and a half off.
Right.
Is that the best decision for me? Or go into the MLS, go to a club where I know will monitor me, understand my situation, with the best rehab team, where I can go into a full preseason and then go from there. You know what I mean? I was still young enough to still go get my feet under me, and if it happened, go back to Europe. I still dream about playing in Europe because I have a bitter taste in my mouth. I'm not done. You know what I mean? But at the time, it was the offers that I got, and yeah, I thought about even staying in Vancouver because I loved it that much. But nothing came out of it. So I said, you know what? Let's go. Let's see where this takes me. And I always just go there with a clear mind. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna
You,
take on this journey.
you say you'd love to go back to Europe. I mean, your stay in Denmark was cut short with an ACL tear as well. So the
Yeah.
frustration was consistent. Clearly, you have the talent and ability. Before you made the move to Asia, I mean, were any European clubs coming calling? Was
Not
was that
not
an opportunity at that time?
it's not big, nothing big enough for me to be like, whoa, like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm not gonna go get lost in Europe. I understand Europe well enough to know what are the attractive leagues and what leagues are good feeder leagues
Sure.
that, you know. I'm not going to any and every team if I don't feel like that's the right move for me. Because I'm not gonna go get lost in the European pipeline. It's not just I just know what's best for me now. They always some people ask me like, do you regret going to West Ham? Never in my life. If I could start my career back over, yeah, I would do things different, but it wouldn't be not going to West Ham. I would definitely continue and still say, yeah, I was supposed to be there. I was supposed to see what I saw. I was supposed to deal with what I went through, and no, I fully embrace that.
Well, you came back to Major League Soccer a different player. You really turned into a true leader, Doneil. You just saw your presence on the field. You had turned into a man, basically
Yeah.
going overseas to when you came home. But maybe it was through Julian de Guzman. You had that stint in Ottawa to regain your fitness. How important was that, spending some time away and building towards getting yourself acclimated for MLS play?
Yeah, so I was pissed off at Robbo. I can tell you that. He'll probably
Really?
laugh. Oh, I was so mad. I was so mad. We had a few conversations and we weren't winning. I thought I should be playing, but he's protecting me obviously because he doesn't want me. He wants to make sure I'm fit because I think we would have lost Kendall at that point for the World Cup. So he said, D, I need you to be fit. So I want you to go to Auto. I'm like, and he before he asked me, he's like, what do you feel if I send you to go on loan at Auto? Would you go? I would say, what? I said, what? Like, I said, I just came back to the MLS and now you're telling me to go to Ottawa. You know, I was pissed off. So, but then I said, wait a second, Julian's there. So I said, you know what? My mental, like I told you, if I'm not playing, if I'm not fit, I am hell to deal with. I'm not someone that's gonna be, yeah, I'm not bubbly, I'm not happy, and yeah, sometimes I can get out of pocket or get out of hand. So when I knew I had Julian, who has that he has that way with me, like that big brother on a respect level, on a life level, mentorship level. Julian is 100% that person for me, and he knew how to deal with me. And those games in Ottawa, playing with Maxime Triple in that back line, I saw you. It's probably one of the only keepers that I know. Like, if I can't do it before it gets to him, I'm 100% confident he's gonna pull something out of his bag of tricks and do it. And we just have that brother connection. That's why I say like backlines, keepers. It's like in the NFL. Keep
Sure.
what are they called? Quarterbacks always
An
take care of
offensive
that D
line.
line,
Yeah,
that whole
offensive
O
line.
line or that D line, that whatever the O line. They always are taken care of by the quarterback because they have that kind of connection. Nothing like that. It's the same kind of connection when you talk about a back line that is successful. You know what I mean? But me and Max have that kind of relationship. We've been playing together for since U20s and whatnot. So yeah, when you think about that, I had Max there. I had Nana, a bunch of guys. It felt like I was at home. It was like a month stint, but it felt like yeah, I'm around some of the guys. It was fine. You know what I mean? Plus, we went on and we won like 5 straight or whatever, and had a few clean sheets at the same time. So it was
You must
definitely
you must
definitely
be
good.
thrilled that Max got his chance last year with the Whitecaps. You know, did you help encourage that move and obviously now his emergence within the Canadian national team pushing Milan Borjan as well.
Yeah, I can't say that I encouraged the move, but once I found out that the Ottawa goalkeeper coach was going to Vancouver and how influential, like he's a great goalkeeper coach, passionate, he makes them work hard, but Max's success comes from Youssef, 100%. Um, so when I knew he was coming to, when Youssef was going there, I started like kind of teasing Max, like, hey, like, are we teammates? Like, what's going on? Like, and we were talking. He says, a possible chance, but when it really happened, and with everything that was going on with the keeper situation, I said, yeah, you haven't played, but Max, you are talented. Like, don't go in there and just be humble. And I said, go in there and go get your position. You know what I mean? And I feel like he's the deserving number one. He's been amazing.
What do you make of your 2 years in Vancouver? Because from a personal perspective, you played some really good football. I believe 39 appearances, scored 4 goals as well. Were really a presence in that team. But you also arrived during another coaching transition.
I've
Bravo
been
uh, to DeSantos. I mean, and obviously a little bit of a rebuild. So although you're playing good football, there had to be some frustration the way that it all played out for you.
Yeah, definitely. I've been caught up in a lot of transition transition teams. And I can tell you right now, it's not easy. But you can go about it two ways. You can feel sorry and start pointing your finger, who's the problem, blah blah blah, or you can be mad and you can just try and make the best of it. You know what I mean? Whether you're rebuilding or you're trying to, some players are gonna fit into the puzzle and some aren't. It's just how it goes. You know what I mean? And ultimately, that decision comes down to management, not the players. So I enjoyed Vancouver. Don't get me wrong, and I found the home environment that I was looking for, where I could say, yeah, I could definitely live in Vancouver. My dog is still there. Like I couldn't even bring my dog with me to Korea, but like yeah, my dog's still there. I have a life in Vancouver, I'd say. Um, but yeah, like you said, I enjoyed it. The management, the staff, everything was good to me. Um, like I said, I told someone I was bitter. Like I didn't think like I would have to fight the way I fight. They say we're negotiating. We didn't negotiate anything because there was never no numbers on the table for me. So yeah, when you talk about negotiating with Doneil, they want me back. They kept saying it, but they didn't show me anything. You know what I mean? So when you talk about that,
I,
it's like that's what upset me the most about what happened in Vancouver.
I read a quote where you said that you felt disrespected in MLS. Is that where the disrespect comes from? It has nothing to do with the league. It has to do with
No,
that.
not the league. I don't know because it's like if the team valued me, we can get something done in the league. If that makes sense. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like teams want players, then they get stuff done. It's like I just was knowing that I had a good season, and I knew that this was my second year back after that ACL. I'm only feeling better. I'm feeling better. I'm playing well. I just didn't think I would have to like fight for what I know I deserve. And yeah, that's where I left it.
How are you still on good terms with people there? Like Derek's still there, Max is still
That's
there.
my brother. Those are my
Like
brothers. Ali, Imbom. Imbom told me the most about my move to Korea because
right.
I didn't think this Korean thing was real. You know what I mean? And then I said, bro, I
What do
thought
you
like
what do you mean by that, Daniil? What do you didn't think that
because
um,
I've never watched a Korean game in my life. So when this interest came, I didn't know what the team was. I didn't know anything about it. So I said, is this even real? Because as a player, you get all of these messages once in a while. Hey, I'm here. This team wants you, or they can. This is the money and blah blah blah. And I'm thinking, I never like these messages or entertain them. I just pass it on to my agent right away. I said, listen, if you have something, this is my agent. Talk to him, and I leave it like that. I just want to play football and let my agent handle everything else because I don't want to get caught up with all of this outside noise or you know what I mean. And I just leave it like that.
we had Mark DeSantos on a few weeks ago. He said that he totally respects you getting out of your comfort zone, taking on this new experience. How do you feel about making that move? Was it a tough decision to make the move
Very
to
tough.
South Korea?
Very tough. Very, very tough. Because like I said, it's far. It's risky in a way. But I just knew that I had a teammate who was coming from this culture and said, Daniel, like, it's a good move. Like it's one of the more prestigious teams in the league. They have a lot of culture and history of winning championship, and he just wasn't wrong. I just knew that for me to feel secure in a place, I have to go there and visit it before I just commit like that. So I came to Korea. I think it was November, and I watched them play the game that got them qualified into the Champions League. And I seen the facility, I seen Korea, and I said, it's tough, but I know I can live here. You know what I mean? I already went through all of the heartaches or the being homesick, getting shingles at like 21 or 22, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I definitely went through it, but I was in a space where I wasn't mad about getting away from my old reality and just starting a new adventure.
I mean, dollars and cents moves like this completely make sense, but you got to make sure you're comfortable as well. Not only Inbom, but a player like Dejan Jakovic, another Canadian men's national team player, played for a while in Japan. Did you reach out to other resources to figure out what it would be like from a footballing and lifestyle perspective?
I was supposed to talk to Dejan. I got his. I had his number. I think I asked Mark for his number just to ask him, but I don't know if I asked him. I know he loved it, but just because like a player like loves it, it doesn't mean I'm gonna like it. I want to have my own. I want to have my own experience or my own, my own experience. You know what I mean? So I didn't want to really have anybody kind of either tell me it's something that I didn't think it could be or whatever. I just want to have that experience for myself wholeheartedly.
Well, honestly, it's quite the adventure, an incredible move, and you're doing well thus far, both in terms of on the field and in terms of your mentality as well. I want to discuss the Canadian men's national team because that's part of your story as well. You have 31 caps. You played in 2 Gold Cups. What does it mean representing your country, and how far has the program come from when you started to where we are here today?
Yeah, it's everything that and it's honestly life changing because I never the stuff that we do with the national team now, I didn't even think was like required for a national team. Like it's a privilege to play for your national team. It's an honor to play for your national team. And John Herdman is definitely one of the most inspirational coaches that I've played for. It's more than just football with John. First of all, we have Zoom meetings. We're talking about how can we be better, and he's always pushing us. How can we be better? How getting us out of our comfort zone? What are we gonna bring next? You know what I mean? John's bought me books to help me on my personal growth and leadership and how I can lead more effectively, and like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a coach that is way more than just football and the different type of leaders that he has in his team. You know, not everybody can wear the armband or lead the same way, but everybody has a role to play. And John has taken the time and talked to every single player in the group of 40-player pool, whatever it is, and has probably had an hour meeting and just wanted to know what it was like in the past, what his vision is, what they think their role is. And for someone that put that much time into a project, I'll run into a wall for him because if people are still even talking about he's a women's coach, they're a joke. I can't even entertain that kind of stuff. John's a winner, and he's a fighter, and that's the 2 things that I respect about him right from the get-go is his determination and his passion and how much he wants to see this country go to a World Cup, and not only go to a World Cup but perform and do really well.
With so many young players coming through, young, exciting, very good players, you're at a good age. You're 27. You have experience. You're a leader in your own way in the group. How do you define your role in this Canadian men's national team?
The young boys feed off my energy and they listen to me. I'm not in anybody's face per se where I'm telling them what to do, but if I speak, they listen. By example, by how they're feeling. They're more comfortable maybe talking to me rather than some of the other guys. But it's just positive vibes and good energy and just feeding them. The one thing that we have in our national team is that nobody should feel out of character or feel like they're timid to be themselves. Especially when it comes to playing football. They're fearless. We don't put restrictions on how much they should do or how hard they should work. Or if I'm telling you, if Fonzie's gonna run at me, he's not thinking, it's Doneil, he's one of the older guys, I can't skin him, he's gonna kill me. You know what I mean? Like, the boys are talented. Jonathan David, with Fonzie, Liam Miller, Frazier. Oh, I can name them all. I can't wait to see even Jaden Nelson play for even Toronto FC and break into this team. But there's a lot of young players, and we want them to be the best they can be and not feel like they can't outshine on the older guys. If we're not supposed to be in the team and they're going to play. And that's what I love about them. We've always given them the confidence to, hey, go forward. do what you got to do. You're only making the team better.
Doneil, you probably hear it. This Canadian team can score goals at will, all this young attacking talent. What about you in the back line? Do you feel like you're being a little bit disrespected? Because when you look at it on paper, yourself, Derek, Richie on the right, Alphonso on the left, and there's other players obviously in the mix too. Do you feel like the back line or the potential of this back line with the Canadian men's national team is being a little bit disrespected?
No, it's like you have to understand. I'm a defender. I've been a defender. We're always going to be the villains. But I tell the guys, don't look at it like that. Be the players that are going to stand up and say, you know what, we got to have big characters. We have to have that. We need to be able to turn all of that negativity and shut them up. The only way we're going to shut them up is by keeping clean sheets, is by getting wins. Yeah, it takes two parts of a team. It takes a full team effort to win a game. It can't be we lost because we didn't score, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or we conceded. Yeah, sometimes the defense, you can say, yeah, we should have done better. But like I said, like when you see Canada defense, you see Canada's attack, we think Canada, the brotherhood. And we look at ourselves as a unit, as a cohesive group of players, staff, and medical staff. Everybody has a role to play within the team, and we don't see a divide. I think that's what makes it so powerful, is that we do everything together. And we voice if we think that there's something that's wrong or if something is done well. From every aspect of the game, on and off the pitch, I'm telling you right now, John has it under control.
Right.
And and anything that needs to be fine-tuned, he's fixing it.
I think that the nation is convinced. I certainly am. Also, what we saw over the fall was the emergence of Alphonso Davies, left back extraordinaire. What do you make about him playing that position? Because initially he's played all across that left-hand side for both club and country. What do you make him? What did you see and what impressed you the most about his growth in that position in recent months?
He can play anything he mentally focused to play. He's in a system where we all know Fonzie has the raw attributes and the talent. He has the spark. He plays with a smile on his face. He's bubbly. He's goofy. Alphonso is supposed to be where he's supposed to be just because of that. You know what I mean? And you love to see it because of his story, but he deserves everything. And where he is, he deserves to be there. He's playing on an unbelievable team, and he fits perfectly the system. He can attack. We all know Fonzie can attack, and he has everything. He has scary characteristics for every defender to come up against. And he can still come back and track back and make tackles and do, because he has that. He has a desire to defend. And, salute to the coach. Once he changes mentality, he can play anything he wants.
We just have a couple minutes left. I got to touch on a couple other things quickly. Your first goal for country came last fall. Myself and Terry Dunfield were calling the game for One Soccer. Honestly, Doneil, you saw it happening. I thought you were going to push up and play up top for a while. That goal finally came for you. Was it a relief? Did you just see that opportunity? Like, I need this.
I don't know if you see my celebration, but
yes,
I was on the ground out of gas and I hit this one.
Yes.
I've been wanting it. I've been feeling it, but I just knew it came from pressure and how hard we were going to press them. The ball came back out, and I knew I was the closest to the ball. I think me, also, and Kyle started doing some pressure, and I just said, you know what, I'm up here. I might as well just run into the box. And when I seen it go in, I was just happy.
It was an awesome moment. I think it was fitting it happened at BMO Field as well, wasn't it?
I'm at home. Like I said, I've scored some goals. I think you said I scored on every single Canadian team, even on Toronto. In the wrong net, but you know what I mean?
It was an awesome moment. Last fall was so fun. And although you were suspended for that game against the United States, you still must have, like you said, everyone played a role in that. You still must have felt right in the middle of that. What was that night like, just witnessing from your vantage point?
Like I said, I came in with a different role. John still brought me in. He wanted me to be a part of that group that led that back line in training, and then I played a different role. I was making sure that the boys knew what they were going into. I was fueling the fire, and I was there on the touchline in the stands with all the supporters at BMO Field, just dying to see us make history. And I can say that I didn't play, but I was definitely a part of it. So I felt just like every one of those guys. I was happy to see us win. Very important points for us.
Victor Monteliani mentioned with us on our show a couple of weeks ago that it seems like the hex must be expanded, and that will bring potentially Canada into a different qualification path for the World Cup. How much have you been following this?
It's just so much uncertainty right now. And then besides that, with the COVID and everything, we kind of know little by little. But if it changes, I guess it helps us a bit. But I think it would be unfair for them not to. With the way their numerical pattern is or whatever, however they calculate scores and whatnot. But no, whatever it's gonna be, it's gonna be, and then we just leave it down to God. We leave it down to the gods, and we just keep playing our football the way we know how to play it.
Beautiful. Let's finish up with our top 5 segment. It's kind of rapid fire. I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You give me the best you've ever played with or against. You'll be able to follow along, Doneil. You're a smart guy. Let's start off with the best player that you've ever played with. Best teammate who's ever been on your team, the best player.
Dimitri Payet.
Decent answer right there. What made him so special for you?
He used to meg me in 5v2. It's damn near impossible, and he used to kill me.
The best player that you've ever played against?
Maybe Quadrado. I think we went at it. Oh no, is it Gary in my Honduras? We played the Honduran team at Toronto FC, Montagua, and I got subbed in about 30 minutes. He megged me. Oh, I got subbed in 30 minutes. You know, it's a disaster of a game. Yeah, he killed me.
Went on and played very well with Celtic after that as well.
Yeah,
top player.
Probably helped him.
The best team that you've ever played against?
Best team.
Either club or country.
Club or country. That's tough. I'm gonna say the best team performance that I've seen, full team. Played against was probably that LAFC team when they popped us at home a year ago. That's a very good team.
How's it going up against Zlatan?
Zlatan's cool. Just don't play the mind games with him. Just play your football. It's all right.
It's good advice. The best coach that you've ever had, and you've had a lot of them.
Yeah. Can I say 2?
Sure. Go ahead.
Ryan Nelson is the reason I'm a professional footballer, and not Ryan Nelson. Stuart Neely, sorry, is definitely the reason I'm a professional footballer, and Ryan Nelson is the one who gave me the opportunity. Probably
very good. And finally, your best soccer or footballing memory. What's the one memory that sticks with you?
BMO Field scoring against Columbus Crew, a 3-2 win.
Very good.
In the 90th minute. My mom came to watch the game. My mom doesn't like coming to the stadiums and stuff. She'd rather hear what the reporters and stuff say. So having my mom in the stadium while I scored with like my best friend, that was a good feeling.
In the South End as well, right?
She was over there.
Very good. I remember that day very well as well. That's her top 5. That's her best 5 segment. That was pretty easy, wasn't it? Yeah, so Doneil, the short-term and long-term future, what's in store for you?
Short-term, I want to have I'm the first Canadian player playing in Korea. I want to be on the individual scale. I want to do the best and be league known. I want to help Canadians have the opportunity to play here. It's an amazing league, well ran. Long-term, World Cup. Definitely making a World Cup appearance and being a part of that group of players.
Our fingers are crossed. It happens in 2022. A home World Cup in 2026 will be pretty special as well. Good luck with the Suwon Bluewings. We're going to be watching from afar. Good to see you healthy. We appreciate your time today. This has been great, Doneil. How can people follow along with your South Korean journey from afar?
I just got back on Instagram in January when I made my move here. You can probably find me there. If not, I'm sure I'll be making headlights for hopefully good things. So they can always follow that.
Hey, listen, we cannot wait to see you wearing the maple leaf again for the Canadian men's national team. There's a lot, and I mean a lot to look forward to. And you're a big part of all that's positive around that program right now. So congratulate you and wish you all the best. Good to see you safe and healthy.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you again. Stay safe. Take care, my friend.
Doneil Henry joining us here on Inside the Game. We'll be back next week with more here on One Soccer and Inside the Game. Have a great weekend, everyone. I am Gareth Wheeler. Make sure you stay home and stay safe.